Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena Podcast. All right, well, welcome to the In the Arena Podcast. Today we have the Blue R Bank, not any other color R, the Blue R Bank, the Resource Bank team from Slidell. So why don't y'all tell us a little bit your names and a little about yourself?
You can start us off.
Ladies first.
Yeah. Kelly Rodriguez, born and raised in Slidell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slidell. I have 3 kids. They're all grown.
Nice.
I have 8 grandkids. And
They're all
they're
athletes.
growing.
Yeah, they're growing too.
I've been in banking my whole adult life.
How many years is it?
Oh, God. Too many.
Too many
I don't
years?
even know if I want to say. how many.
We're just
I've
going
been
to
with
say
Resource Bank for 15, though.
a lot of wisdom.
That's good.
A lot of wisdom, a lot of dedication to the community.
I learn something every day.
Yeah,
For real.
that's right. I'm excited to talk with y'all more about y'all's history because I know you've got a long background in commercial banking. Nick has a little bit different background, so tell us a little about your background, Nick.
Yeah, so Nick Ryder, commercial lender.
Nicholas in my phone if I share it.
It is Nicholas. You know, it's usually like if I'm in trouble thing with my wife or parents. But Nick Ryder, commercial lender with Resource Bank. I guess I've been at Resource now a year and a half. 2 kids, born and raised in Slidell as well. Graduated Slidell High, 07.
Go Spartans.
Go Tigers, too.
That's right. That's right. And just I guess I've been in banking 15 years.
Wow.
I guess 16 years. Wow. So yeah.
Really likes baseball.
Big baseball fan. You know, coach a travel team for my son.
Nice.
So keeping me busy with that. Played last weekend. Had a
How old's
great-
your boy?
8.
8?
Yeah.
My son's 2.5. We watched Sandlot about 2 months ago, and now he's just like
That's how it gets started.
baseball glove and the whole 9 yards,
Yeah.
which fires me up because I was a huge baseball guy growing up too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's the same thing with me. Like, you know, grew up playing travel ball, playing rec ball. So yeah, it keeps me busy, man. And I love it. And then of course my daughter's 5. She's in this whole cheer dance thing. So it's like, you know, I get to be the baseball coach part of the weekend. The next part of the weekend, it's, you know, cheer dad cheering her on for her performances. So it's awesome, man.
That's
Good time.
awesome. That's great. When I say I was a baseball guy, I was the 9-hole batter on a state championship baseball team.
Let's go.
And I got a fielder's choice ground ball to second base to score a run in the 3rd inning of state championship game, and then struck out on 6 straight curveballs in the next at bats. But got an RBI. in the
Hey,
state
that
championship
one.
We can
game.
tell
There
that
you go.
story
That
right
one.
there, right? So
So-
what school?
At Menard in Alexandria.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it was fun. And I mean, I'll say this about sports just to round that out. Like the confidence that kids get whenever they're like on a team with discipline, and then that ultimately ends up winning, you carry that in the rest of your life. I mean, winning that last organized sporting event for me, my senior year in baseball, definitely carried into college and then law school and in professional world. So I think sports are
And he
great.
still brings it up today.
I mean,
Yeah. I would too.
Proud.
It's exciting.
It was a
It's
big
exciting.
deal. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's get into banking though. And Kelly, so you've been doing this for a really long time, and you said that you preferred commercial banking, and you've been at a couple different places because you said you've been at Resource for 15 years. I don't know where you were before, but what sets Resource Bank apart when it comes to the commercial banking, especially in this area?
I just think we understand it. We are a small business, so we understand small business and we understand the needs of our community because we're really entrenched in it, you know? All of us are really involved in the community in some way or another, you know, sitting on boards, doing nonprofit stuff, coaching baseball, you know, all of that stuff. And I think, you know, you meet a lot of people that own businesses and get to be friends with them and understand, what
What they
how their
need.
stuff works. And yep. Mm-hmm.
So you said you're on boards locally, like you're on boards aside from Resource Bank, right? So you're on
Nonprofit stuff,
other
yeah.
nonprofits
like
in
East
the
St.
community.
Tammany Habitat. I've
Yeah.
been on that board for many years, and you know, just different committees trying to help make our community better.
Networking
really,
groups.
Yeah,
networking
big time.
groups.
which I
too,
mean is
yeah.
interesting. I mean, like really and truly, like you see other bankers at Resource Bank out and about more than you may see other bigger banks that are doing more volume, right? Like if you're in a mortgage lending department, right, that is different. Or you have to be networking with people. But if you have a bigger bank, I won't name any names of bigger banks, but like you don't see those people out sponsoring things and doing things. And, you know, it's important for people to understand what you just said. Like you're out in the community networking and hearing what people need so you can add value, not only from the banking standpoint, but also giving advice and being a part of decision-making for these local boards that are making our community better. And, you know, it's a big deal. It's a big part of it. And people value that. And I would imagine it's a big reason why Resource has been able to have the name and reputation that it's had for such a long period of time.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it starts at the top, like our leaders. Well, you know, Chris Keller, he's very involved in the community in different ways too. And I think, you know, he understands, you know, the balance of that. You know, we're trying to get business and grow the bank and, you know, help our customers succeed and at the same time helping out in the community. So
not to call out your boss, but I've invited him on the podcast and he hasn't come on yet. So we're going to share this with him and see if he can get excited about him coming and talking on the podcast one day.
yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
Or a challenge. Maybe he responds to a challenge.
Yeah.
And he
Like-
might. We'll see.
I think he's. I think he
Is,
would.
is he scared?
If he's competitive, I think the challenge might work.
I think he would have a wealth of knowledge because you know,
Absolutely.
one of the things that I've heard about Resource Bank, the bank has obviously had opportunities to grow over the last decade to 20 years, but y'all have chosen to stay local, not to buy a bunch of banks to get big too quick or to be bought by a bigger bank. How does that help you service your clients better?
I mean, I feel like it just gives us confidence and empowerment, if you will, just to, you know, to know that I can make a decision, you know, or at least, you know, put my recommendation forth and they listen. Like our, you know, our execs listen, our board listens, and, you know, they know that we're down in the trenches, I guess you'd say, with, you know, with small businesses in the area. So we kind of know and help them to know.
Yeah.
I think, what was it, a week ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago, we were in our networking group and Nick was educating everybody on the process. And he mentioned they do their own underwriting. So like, again, if you are the person that's out in the community, finding out what the need is, and then you get that ability to actually do your own underwriting on the file, there's just a level of understanding for that client of what they're trying to do that y'all get your hands on that most people that are out in the community trying to get the business don't do.
Yeah.
Right? When you're holding on to that
it's so
process. So
true.
I love that aspect for you all because it means something when you say, I'm trying to find out what the client needs, because then that means you can actually make the decision like you just mentioned and actually help them.
Well, you do. I mean, it does help you. You know, you can see trends in growth or unfortunately sometimes sliding the other way, you know, and help your customer to see and understand that. It's surprising to me how many small businesses, you know, the owners are great at what they do. Their business is successful, but they might not be so great at the financial end of it.
All of them.
So I've had
all of the
some-
ones that come in my office. No, I'm
That's a
kidding.
pretty common thing,
say
right?
all of them,
No,
but
it's a
some
lot.
of them.
It's a
So
lot.
if you spread, you know, 3 years of financials and you're talking to them about their financials, sometimes they don't know what you're talking about.
Correct.
So I'm like, look here, you know. So there's that education piece for us too, that we can help them help themselves really to understand what they're.
How many bankers do you find come into this business not knowing how to advise clients too, right? Having the experience like you have, I'm sure makes a huge difference in helping your clients grow and be able to qualify for the loan they're looking to get.
I mean, I feel like it. Yeah, the more experience you have, the more people have confidence in you. You know, but I'm learning something new every day.
But that's, again, that's attributing to the small bank environment that you actually get to have your hands on the file rather than segmenting it and not, you know, necessarily going through the underwriting. So
I love it.
I think
like,
it's a huge
I
benefit.
love that we underwrite our own. I really do. I enjoy that
Agreed.
part of the job. It's time consuming, you know, and it takes a lot of brain power to do that and not, you know, focus and concentration, which, you know, we have to jump around a lot. So that part of it's a little tough, but I really like it.
Somebody who may be looking to borrow their first chunk of change from a bank, how does the process work? I mean, I'm sure that there's a point of the process that you're having to gather information.
Yeah.
Right. And so what does that look like?
Yeah, perfect. So typically, if we're meeting a new client or something like that, right? It's a conversation, a lunch. I want to know about them. You know, like I want to know, okay, how do you end up here? You know, what do you look? You know, tell me about your business now. Where are you looking
a
to
stable
go?
mind? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know, what's your experiences? You know, what's your vision for this going forward, right? I'm not too worried about the exact numbers at that point. I want to know the person. I want to know the business. And I want to know what your vision is and what you're truly trying to accomplish, right? Because what you're telling me you want may not be the exact solution at that point, right?
Yeah.
I could have something else in my arsenal that you just don't happen to know about at that time.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's really understanding what their goals are and what they're looking to accomplish. And then from there, like you said, it is it's a grind of gathering all of their financials and their documentation that a lot of them don't have a ton of experience in. And then what we're doing is, we're reviewing credit, we're reviewing all of their incomes, balance sheets, looking at their cash flows, and then really helping piece together what the best possible solution for them is at that point for their goals.
Yeah. And so you're like, how often are you getting somebody who doesn't have their books in order to be able to make that decision? Pretty often.
Yeah.
So what's the solution for that? What are you doing with them to help them be able to get themselves organized? And y'all can both answer this question.
You want to go for it?
I think the biggest thing for me is learning how to complete a financial statement, a personal financial statement. Like we've done that in our networking group. It's just a snapshot of what you own and what you owe, basically. But most people don't know how to do that. And it's an eye-opening experience when you do it for the first time. You're like, ooh, I don't have as much money as I thought I did. Or, oh, I'm only worth this. Oh, I'm in the red. I'm not in the black.
How frustrating is it for somebody to drag their feet on getting you those financial statements?
Frustrating is it?
For those of you that don't know, they carry the loan for one of our
what that
buildings.
process
You're very nice
looks
about following
like,
up. I will say that.
Hey, we respond eventually.
Y'all do. No, y'all. Hey, I'll say, look, I've had way worse. All right.
Okay, well, good. It makes me feel better.
Yeah, and look, just to tag on, a lot of people don't even understand, the assets and liabilities on the financial statement, right? Like, so a lot of times it's explaining what those mean, and explaining like what all could be in their assets and their liabilities of personal properties included in there. I'm also big on some people, especially in the beginning of their business, depending on how devoted they are, not always working with a CPA or maybe the right fit for a CPA. So it's like, hey, make sure you're having these conversations with your CPAs on what your goals are, what you're looking to do. You're looking to scale, you're looking to grow. Maybe we don't need the deductions on there
For the first year,
right?
For that year.
So just things like that, those conversations.
So there's something that I think a point of clarification. And so whenever you're talking about gathering financial statements, right? You mentioned a personal financial statement, but that's different than your business financial statement.
yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
how important whenever somebody's qualifying for a business loan, do they have to have both of those things in order, not just a business in order, but also documentation of the personal stuff?
You're going to personally
every
guarantee
time.
every
Every
time,
time.
right?
Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people, there's recourse, non-recourse loans, and all that kind of stuff too. But like most small businesses around here are going to be personally guaranteeing their debt. Absolutely. So not only do you have to have your professional books in order, but you need to have your personal books in order.
Yes.
And you made the good point, like having a CPA that knows and understands your goals too.
Right.
But also, like Lauren always says, that understands your risk tolerance, but also that they're not just somebody who files taxes every year. There are CPAs that do different things. Like not every CPA is the same. They all have different services. Some bigger firms have people who do different things. But generally speaking, if somebody's helping you with your personal tax return, they're not looking at your books or may not know how to look at your books in a way that makes you lendable and not trying to deduct everything every year so that you have to pay the lowest tax liability. That might not help you accomplish your business goals.
Yeah, and what I would say is if they're not having the same conversations with you that maybe your banker's having about what your future looks like, what your goals are, what you're looking to accomplish, maybe it's not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
It shouldn't just be
pro-business CPAs, just like you need a pro-business banker and a
Yeah.
pro-business lawyer.
That's true.
I mean, that's most of the reason of why we have Arena Collective is just because I could never find a group of attorneys that understand what pro-business means, right? It doesn't mean that you're always living in the gray. It doesn't mean, that you're uber compliant. It means that you are making practical decisions in the best interest of business moving forward, in the best interest of economic development. And I feel like the same applies to bankers and CPAs, right? If they're not willing to get in the grind with you, get messy and find solutions and not say no, but instead say, wait, but how, right? Then you're not going to have that growth in your community that you're looking for. And so you got to match those personalities.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
And that's exactly it, right? Like it's got to be the right fit. And when it's the right fit, sometimes it's the first one, sometimes it's 5 or 6 later, right? It's just sometimes trial and error is the answer. But making sure that you feel like you have somebody that's on your team and then you can create this little triangle where you have your banker, your CPA, and the client all working together on the same page. And that's when things tend to
We
be a
usually
little bit
throw
more
the
fluid.
advisor in there as well because that helps with the personal financial
Yeah,
statements.
for sure.
But it's crazy because we just have a wonderful network of referral sources in our community. And we do have some really well-developed CPA firms that get that. And the mindset is shifting. And if we are collectively working together, we will see that economic growth that we want here. Because we do. We have the resources. It's just getting out there and knowing that. And again, it goes back to the original point of you all being out in the community. So you get to meet these people and understand that those resources are available and partnering them with the businesses.
It's so important, and really all of our execs are well aware and encourage us that every chance we get, you need to be doing 3 lunches a week, or I mean, how many times have you heard that?
Let's go back to the underwriting too, because I know we're kind of assuming that this business that it's going to be borrowing money has been existing for a while. How often do you have a new business that comes in, and how is that different than the existing business that's been operating for a couple of years trying to apply for loans? It's a brand new business. What does that look like from a gathering of information and the underwriting process?
So different.
Yeah.
So different. So you're more relying on the person, right? The individual, because they don't have a track record. They don't have a history. So majority of the time, and you can say if this is true for you or not, but you're looking at equity in their house, their liquidity, whatever you can grab to get them to go and grow to the next level to where, then they have more assets and more liquidity, and then you can really start rolling. But yeah, it's a majority personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's heavy on the personal side, right? And then at that point, you're looking at various items, right? Like you said, the equity in the house. It could also be maybe like non-qualified investable assets that they've gathered over time that maybe you can lend against, or something that always people forget about is cash value life insurance, right? Those are also lendable collateral right there.
Yeah.
That can help support this person getting their business off the ground.
Gotcha. I guess I'll ask a more specific question this time, because I'm interested to know how much the bank is interested in the actual person's plan, like the business plan. When it comes to, have they identified their values and their the next 3 to 5 year goals and all of that type of stuff, and organizing the fact that they have a good plan for making money after the money's been given to them and after they've gotten that kind of injection of capital to be able to move forward. Are y'all looking at that kind of, is that valuable to you guys?
I tell you what we love. We love it when people go through Southeastern Small Business Development area. They help them write a business plan, and we like that business plan.
Yeah.
Because we want to see that they've put the work in. Just because I like to cook doesn't mean I can open a restaurant, right? There's a lot more that goes into it than that, and it's the same with any business, really. Just because it's something you like to do and you're good at doesn't mean you're going to be successful in that business.
Amen.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've spent a lot of time with Dean Lopez in the business school, and she's doing some great things over there. I always love spending time with her, and all the other resources they pull together for the military veterans that they spend time with, to the NIL program for the college kids that are going to be receiving money for starting their business based on their name, image, and likeness. All that's pretty interesting. And part of our business planning services too, and we help businesses with that type of stuff. They, like you said, they always want to jump to how we're going to operate in the process and what they're going to do, what they're good at. But we like to pull them back to, what is your purpose and values? What are you trying to, what's the main core focus and purpose for your business, so that whenever you're not motivated every day, or you hit a hard, rough, block of time, or whatever you're trying to.
You don't make that million in the first year.
Yeah.
What's keeping you moving? What's inspiring you to move forward, and what disciplines are you going to have set up throughout the year to make sure that you're constantly moving forward to get where you're trying to go? So all we talk about that a lot, and I was interested to know how much of that is important to you guys as bankers, to be setting up, making sure that not only do they have their financials in order, but do they have the idea and the structure around their business to be able to get to where they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, if I'm looking at this, it carries weight for sure, right? I want to know how detailed this person is on the actions that they're going to take weekly, daily, monthly, whatever it might be, in order to hit these certain goals or milestones that they've set forth, right? So that means they've probably done their due diligence. They're going to have certain disciplines and things like that they're willing to do to help make this thing successful. So I want to know that they've thought this out and maybe kind of put it on paper. I also want to know, what's your contingency plan, right? If you only hit half of what you're expecting, what's the plan if it doesn't go right?
Yeah.
I want people to look at it from all angles, to really have a global overview of what they're getting into, and really have they kind of gone into every nook and cranny.
Which they need for their own survival.
Yeah.
It's almost a service that you're providing when you're putting someone through underwriting.
Correct.
Right? Oh, wait, you didn't turn this rock over. Let's do that now
Yeah.
before we're in the thick of it.
And that's it. Like everybody, like I say everybody, but a lot of people when they're putting together these businesses, right? It's always, the best case scenario of kind of what they're thinking about, right?
Yeah.
It's a personality trait of an entrepreneur,
Well,
right?
it's
That
great.
person that is willing to take the step
Yeah.
has a certain amount of what we might refer to as crazy, but a certain amount of get up and go, and this will work itself out, right? That optimism, that hope that allows them to move forward.
And that's not for everybody.
It's not.
No.
It is not, which is why you see a lot of really skilled people that also don't own their own business as well, right? It takes all personalities. Now, when you put them together, that's a winning situation.
Yeah,
Or there's rare people that, do look at both.
Yeah, but absolutely, it definitely carries weight on this. Like, are they really planning this thing out in its entirety?
And they have that trust in us too, like they trust what we're doing. That that we've done our due diligence and we've done our homework and we've had those conversations with them and that we're comfortable enough. I mean, Nick and I go by baseball analogy.
Yeah,
3 strikes.
3 strikes,
nope,
yeah.
We're 2 strikes maybe.
I love that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's kind of shift a little bit. I want to talk about, Kelly, how you've managed to stay in this business and be so successful over such a long period of time. I think that you've seen a lot of cycles in real estate, and I know Resource does the residential construction is a big part of y'all's clientele, but also you love the commercial side of business. And real estate ebbs and flows, residential ebbs and flows, commercial ebbs and flows, and you've probably seen a lot of those cycles come through here. Mm-hmm. What do you think attributes to your ability to continue to move forward even through all of those cycles?
I mean,
you get to brag on yourself for a minute.
I don't know if I'm going to brag on myself. I would probably brag on the people that taught me.
Okay, cool.
Ahead of me, because I watched them go through the cycles of it and how they've handled it, and conversations that I've had with our bosses, because they're very open door. Like I could pick up the phone today and call Chris Keller, and he would pick up and talk to me.
Yeah.
So it's not it's no intimidation or anything like that. Just have any kind of talk, but I don't know. I feel like it's just experience and people that have taught me along the way how to help people. Plus, credit to the clients, of course, sure, because they're handling it. Mm-hmm. And they know when to buckle up and tighten up and not go out and do something, just kind of pull the reins back. So I credit to them, really.
Experience tells you all as well.
Yeah.
Experience tells you that it is an ebb and a flow. Mm-hmm. So there is an ending. You maintain the hope. You stick to general business principles, which it sounds like y'all support the clients in doing. Mm-hmm. And that's how you have that continued success and support.
And some of them just amaze me, honestly. They just innovate. They, forward thinking. And some of us don't have that skill set. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, really. So I don't know. I admire that about them, that they can, that they have the wherewithal to stick it out and know when to pull back and know when to move forward and know, and they've made good, right decisions, and it's made them successful in their business. Yeah. And I love it.
It's fun to watch.
And I know you won't brag on yourself, but so I'll brag on you. But like the success you've had, a lot of it just from looking at it from the last year and a half, it's consistency, for sure.
And authenticity.
Yeah. I would say just the consistency you bring every day has absolutely helped you be a staple in the commercial banking world, for sure.
Thank you.
And I'm sure loving Slidell and where you're from too also is helpful too, right?
It's hard not to love.
I'm going to say it's a growing small town, really. Yeah. My dad was born there. Yeah. So it's generational too. I'm not going to say that a lot of my clients are that, but of course I'm dealing with the kids of the parents that I dealt with now, mm-hmm. and that's a little weird and nice at the same time. But it's pretty cool, really. Yeah. Like kids my kids used to play high school ball with are now my customers, and that's really cool. You know?
Is Lauren one of those?
David is.
Yeah.
David is.
David, with my dad's business.
And actually, that's how I met Nick. I don't know if y'all know that story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He played softball with my kids.
There you go.
That's how we connected.
There you go.
Small world.
Yeah.
So as you're and I know this is a question that people are asking a lot, so I'm not asking you to have a crystal ball or anything, but like over your career, like have you seen something like the cycle that we're going through right now, and the ebb or the flow of where we're at?
Maybe in a different way, mm-hmm. I guess. Yeah. And builders particularly are reacting in the right way. I mean, I was saying in our business development meeting the other day that I'm starting to see more activity on the residential side of things. I haven't had custom construction loans, probably 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Really?
And I got 3.
Nice.
So it's nice to see that, I'm not going to say the builders are stepping out and putting more specs on the ground. They're not, or at least mine aren't. They'll do 1 at a time, maybe 2 at a time, but they're not going any further out than that. So that part's still a little sticky, but I think we're moving in the right direction. I like that.
Yeah. I feel the same way too. I mean, just living in Terabella and also having an office here and being in real estate, I see people are starting to do more things, and some people that are partnering, that are maybe the capital arm of the partnership or investing more money. They're doing 3 or 4, like you said, projects instead of just 1 or 2 at a time. And so I see it a little bit too, but it's not like everybody's just like gangbusters rolling into the market again, which it is an optimistic thing for me, because you see people being smart with it, and they're not going to over do it, because like over the last couple of years it was always like buyer's market and then quickly a seller's market, shifting back and forth quickly. It'd be nice to level out for a minute and get our bearings about us before we hit it again, because inevitably the cycle is going to come back around, right? It's just most people are thinking that it's going to come back around in 6 months, when the reality of it is it's usually a 10-year cycle, so it's going to take 3 or 4 or 5 years for it to really pick back up again. We'll have a couple good years, and it's going to obviously go back to where it slows down a little bit too. So, do you have anything y'all want to add about Resource Bank before we hop off here, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, look, love Resource Bank. Very, very happy being here. It's a great bank, great community bank, which is something you don't always get kind of nowadays.
A lot of people can say it, but not a lot of people can live it.
Yeah. I mean, like in today's banking market, right? A lot of these smaller banks kind of get bought up and things like that. So it's very small. People know your name when you walk in. Love that about it, right? And you get a banker, right? They call me, they text me, whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. I'm here for them and things like that. And it's not the case everywhere. So it's nice to have these small community banks in there.
I can attribute to that. When you call some banks at 501, everybody's calling.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to have somebody, because look, we're working all day and getting things done during the day. And whenever you're starting to think about all the other little things that are working on the business, you might think about those after the phone stops ringing for us. So it's nice to know that the phone's available.
Business banking.
Yes. So it's
about.
great.
Letting it go round.
That's what it's about.
And there's nobody, y'all, that gives better customer service. Nobody.
Agreed.
I mean, no way.
Yeah, y'all are easy to work with on our end too, which is a big deal, because you can tell some people who are like a little bit more difficult to work files with and deals with. I imagine that's probably going to be the customer's feelings too, whenever we feel that way. So it's nice to be able to pick up the phone and have somebody call you back in 5 minutes if they don't answer the phone when you call. So I'll say y'all do a good job with that too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, y'all did great. I appreciate it. I can't wait for people to hear more about Resource Bank and about you two, and get excited about Slidell.
That's right.
Yeah. The blue R. The Dell's the
The
best.
blue R. That's right.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.